Hey gang, Massad Ayoob here on the Wilson Combat Channel. Be sure to subscribe and click the notification button. That'll let you know when Bill and his team drop the next knowledge bomb that you want to learn from. If you haven't met him already, Bill Wilson. I met him in 1977 at the Second Chance Shoot, and not too long after that saw him win the darn thing and a whole lot more. The gun he won with was what became his signature gun, the 1911 pistol. And the question's been asked, is the 1911 still relevant? I can think of no one better to ask than Bill Wilson. Bill?
Well, Massad, welcome again. Glad to have you on the channel again. I personally think it is because, we're kind of known for 1911s, but as you know, I mean, I shoot all kinds of different platforms. I'm also a big Beretta fan. I'm, becoming a SIG 320 fan. Yep. I like the Walther PPQ, a lot of different designs that I like very well. I always like the Browning High Power. But we're talking 1911s here. And what are the advantages and disadvantages of a 1911 as a carry gun? One of the big things I think is, if you look at it in comparison to most striker fired guns, that don't have a manual safety, I actually think a 1911 is much safer for a novice to carry because of the fact you have the thumb safety and the grip safety on it, and it's not quite as dependent on you keeping your finger off the trigger to keep having a loud noise you don't want to happen. So safety-wise, I think it's a reason, and shootability. I mean, let's face it. Now that 9mm is all the craze, and more 1911s are built in 9mm now than 45. The real easy gun to shoot in 9mm. I mean, it's a very soft recoil and easy to control. You've got a relatively low bore axis and a gun that has enough weight to it that you don't have much recoil in the 9mm. And even when you're carrying a man's gun, the 45 auto here, a steel frame, even in a compact like this, is relatively easy to control. The gun's flat, which makes it pretty easy to conceal, because it tucks in tight to your body. And I don't think any platform has proven to be as long-term durable as a steel frame 1911. I mean, I'm not sure you can actually wear the sliding frame out on a 9mm 1911. I think you could go through multiple barrels before you actually wear the core components out on the gun. I mean, if you keep a little bit of lube in them, and don't shoot NATO ammo, if you shoot standard full metal jacket 115 grain ball, for example, for your training, I mean, the guns just run and they just don't seem to wear out. I know I have the guys build me a new gun every now and then, and it's because I want the latest greatest. It's not because I've had a problem with any of my older guns. I'm not, at 66, I'm confident I'm not gonna wear any of them out, in my lifetime. So there's a lot of factors there, and then you have the nostalgia. You have, it's kind of like, a quality 1911 and a quality leather holster. Especially our generation, it's the kind of thing you want to wear to a nice Texas barbecue, as opposed to a plastic gun and a plastic holster.
I can hear that. And as far as for those too young to have nostalgia, your time is coming. But I've got to echo what Bill said about the practicality. If you look at the thinness of it for its original caliber, 45, there's no slimmer 45. And like Bill said, the comfort factor is significant, particularly when you're wearing inside the waistband for maximum concealment. The safety factors, first, it has to be carried cocked and locked. Only an idiot would carry empty chamber today. The good news is, to my mind, accident reduction and weapon retention. Where we're seeing self-inflicted gunshot wounds seems to be more than anything else in the holstering process. When the gun is thrust into the holster, something interdicts. The too narrow safety strap on the holster somebody bought at the bargain bin at the gun show gets into that trigger guard. Well, with a conventional pistol, if you're pushing it, finger stop, trigger stops, gun keeps going, and there's a kaboom with body parts on the way. A huge factor with this is the gun retention factor, the potential of being disarmed by the criminal, cop or civilian. Civilians think some think, I see it on the gun forums all the time, I don't have to worry about gun retention because I carry concealed. That's going to fail you the first moment you get in a fight with somebody who did high school wrestling. They grab you around the waist to destabilize you, they feel the gun and the struggle is on. Or you're taking subject A at gunpoint and subject B jumps you from the flank and grabs at the gun. Now, what we found with this, if the gun is on safe when someone gets it away, unless they are very familiar with this particular type of gun, it takes them a while to figure out which one of these little levers and buttons and all that is the one that turns on La Pistola.
And you hope they think it's this one first and eject the magazine.
Actually, that has been known to happen. One of the patterns that we've seen again and again, bad guy gets gun away, points at individual, pulls trigger, nothing happens. Racks the slide. Well, on an on-safe 1911, the slide's not going to rack, it's locked into place. On most of your double-action autos that have a safety option, like the first through third generation Smith & Wessons, for example, they rack a round out, another one in, slub, slub, slub. They generally look for the next biggest thing, which is the slide stop, press it, and of course, nothing happens. They go for the big button, and the magazine falls in their foot, so now they've got a single shot instead of a 9-shot 45. And with some pistols, if it has a mag disconnector safety, they're down to 0 shootability. The first test on that I know of was done in 1981 and published in Police Chief magazine. A police department, I believe in Florida, was assessing the viability of going to a 1911 45 over their 6-shot 38. So they took volunteers from the non-sworn personnel in the department, secretaries, motor pool, janitorial. Some of them knew guns, some of them didn't, but none were specifically trained with police weapons. They put them on the range, loaded their service revolver here, target's a couple of feet away, said, this is the cop you've disarmed, this is the gun, when we say go, you pick it up and shoot them. Well, on the signal, bang, with a double action revolver. They averaged, if I recall correctly, 1.2 seconds. Cocked and locked, 1911 pistol. The average was approximately 18 seconds of messing with a gun before they finally figured out how to turn the damn thing on. We've seen that replicated again and again. One demonstration I did for an Eastern Police Department, it took 30 seconds before the volunteer finally gave up. He put the pistol down on the table, stood like this glaring at it, and the demonstration was over. He was a member of a big city council that the union was asking for auto pistols because darn near every doper, and they had a big gang problem in the city, was carrying a stolen high-capacity 9, and they had 6-shot 38s. One of the most influential members of the city council had told the newspaper, well, if the bad guys have Uzis, do you expect us to give you Uzis? In researching, I noticed that every single murdered officer in the history of that department had been killed with a stolen police revolver. Either he got it from the officer he killed or the officer's partner. So I asked, can I have a volunteer from the council? The gun the officers had wanted was not actually a 1911. They wanted the Smith & Wesson 4506, which had a magazine disconnector safety. So I took a 4506, showed them it was clear, took a Smith & Wesson Model 64 revolver, their issue gun, showed them that was clear. Said, who on the council is familiar with guns? And one older gentleman stood up, did the hitch the pants up thing, and turned out he's a West Point graduate, retired senior military officer, who'd been using 1911s since he entered West Point, but by Army regs had always carried it hammered down in an empty chamber and had probably never used the damn safety. So he picked up the gun, and what I did with the gun, the Smith, I left it in double action mode with the lever down on safe, and removed the follower and spring from the magazine so racking the slide wouldn't lock it open. And he's going slub, slub, slub. The revolver was 1 second flat. The old dude was quick. Slub, 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 nothing. Presses slide stop, nothing. Presses button, magazine falls on shoe, still nothing. Pick the magazine up, put it back in the gun, set it down, and by then we're at 30 seconds. The city bought them 4506s, and no officer during the period they had the 4506 was ever killed with his own weapon. You have that feature actually with a little better ergonomics with the 1911 because the thumb just naturally closes it down, and of course they're available with an ambidextrous safety for southpaws. And if you're holstering the gun and something catches the trigger, you've got a couple of options there. First, the safety, the manual safety should be preventing it. If you've been careless enough to leave it off safe, the grip safety will prevent it Now, if you're holding it in a firing grasp, no, anything catches the trigger, you're going to get a bang. But with the 1911, you can simply hold it like this. Now, we've activated the grip safety, so it's not going to go bang. The thumb is holding the hammer, so if something drives it forward, the thumb can catch it. And we've significantly reduced the likelihood of the gun unintentionally discharging during the holstering process. Finally, one thing you have with this that you have with very few of the double-action autos or the striker-fired guns is what we call standoff capability. Now let me take the safety off. With the safety off, this gun and most any other, if it's pressed against a hard surface, you're in a struggle with a guy, you're barely holding his knife away from you, you're belly to belly, and you've got to jam the gun into him and shoot. That gun's out of battery. It's not going to fire. But what you can do with this 1911, if the camera can see what I'm doing here, leave the safety on, pull the trigger. And because of the internals, now all you've got to do is press down the thumb safety, and the gun will go bang. You haven't seen here, let me get my hand out of the way. You're pressing down hard, hold the trigger, and that could be one day a lifesaver. So this gun has a whole lot going for it. It may only hold 10+1 and 9mm or 8+1 and 45, but there's a reason it's still there. John Moses Browning was a genius.
Massad, thank you again.
Thank you, my brother.
Appreciate you visiting with us.
Don't forget that subscription and that notification button.
Yeah. Thank you all for watching.